right? And good morning or good afternoon, depending on the time frame. All right. Inshallah, today I'll be presenting on stress management from an organizational behavior perspective, right? So these are some of the learning objectives that, inshallah, we'll be covering today. Okay, basically understanding what is stress and what are the common causes and consequences, and obviously, inshallah, we will discuss the core Islamic view and strategies on stress management. Okay, so first of all, if we look at the definition of stress, it's a psychological and physiological, right? So both mental and physical response to challenges or demands that we are facing in our daily lives, right? Now, there is a discussion about eustress versus distress. Now, eustress is the concept that management sometimes believe that a little bit of stress can be good for you, right? When we are focused on our work, our project, right? If we are feeling a little bit of pressure in doing our work, we might be a bit more focused, right? We might pay more attention to details and things like that, right? So we are performing a little bit better. However, there is the issue about distress. Meaning, if the pressure or the stress becomes too much, right, it can actually have a negative impact on our psychological and physiological well-being. All right, so inshallah, we will look at that in a future slide as well. Okay. Now, from an Islamic perspective, we have to understand that the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, right, verse 155 and 156 has mentioned that life is a test. We will be tested, okay? And stress is part of the human experience. Therefore, if we are faced with any kind of challenges, please remember Allah. Okay, remember Allah, and that Allah is the most merciful and also will hopefully, inshallah, guide us and protect us as well. Yeah. So here is the general adaptation syndrome model about stress, that when we first face stress, right, our reaction might affect our performance and our ability to cope may reduce. Then we start to be able to perform a little bit more. Our coping mechanism comes in and we perform, right, a little bit better, okay, and our ability to cope becomes stronger. Right? And then we are performing a little bit better, focusing on our work or focusing on our projects, right? However, over time, if the challenges continue, if the stress continues, this is when our ability to cope reduces and we face burnout, we face exhaustion, right? We don't want to handle it anymore. So this is when we become less focused, less motivated, right? And we do not want to pay attention to our work. So this area where there is an increase in coping mechanism, an increase in our work performance, this is called eustress. However, if the stress becomes too much, this is when we get distress, right? Too much stress. We are not focused. We do not want to pay attention, right? We do not want to do our work. We rather just give up. We are exhausted, okay? So management or companies have to make sure that if somebody is faced a bit of pressure or challenge, it is good to face just a little bit. However, must be very careful not to be too much that people will move over to distress or a lot of stress. Yeah. And different people will have different coping mechanism or limits. Yeah. So managers need to know their coping limits of their staff. Now, if we look at the model of stress, there are environmental factors, organizational factors, and personal factors that can be potential sources of stress, right? So what is happening in the environment about economic, political situation, right? In the companies in terms of work demands, people that we work with, the role that we have to play, and also personal factors, family problems, right? Situations will lead to whether or not the person is experiencing stress. At the same time, individuals, right, their own personality type, how they perceive things, how they view their world, right? As well as cultural differences. What people consider as a priority for them in their culture. Some cultures would like more elements of control. Some cultures would like more support, societal support. Right? So if they feel that they are getting or not getting what they need, that could lead to levels of stress. And that could lead to the consequences, outcome, physiological, psychological, and behavioral symptoms, right? Which I will look at in a while. Where physiological, you talk about the body, right? The physical consequences. Psychological, right, is the mental and emotional, and also behavioral symptoms about how we may behave, right? Now, these are the most common workplace stressors. Now, stresses are basically causes of stress. Yeah. So organizational constraints, things that, we do not get the resources we need, or we have limited time frame, right? All of these things that could affect your performance are considered organizational constraints. Then, when we talk about interpersonal conflict, the relationship we have with our colleagues, with our staff, with our customers, suppliers, right? Anything that could affect our behavior. So, that of course includes bullying, harassments, abuse, okay? A lot of arguments, pressure, not getting along with your friends, or, well, wouldn't say friends, not getting along with your colleagues or staff or customers, right? All of that can lead to potential stress. On top of that, you also have work overload, too much work, too much pressure on you, more hours, extensive hours. And sometimes we see that in companies, right? Because there are cases where a person who is highly competent is given a lot of work because management thinks that, well, this person is very competent. So let's give them the promotion, let's give them the workload, let's give them the projects. Whereas people who are less competent are given just the minimal duties because they think that, well, managers think that, well, yeah, he or she is a good staff, but, not like this a high achiever. Right? So let's give this project to the high achiever, and let's just give minimal work to the average employee. Okay, which means that the average employee earns their salary by doing minimal work or just the average amount of work, whereas the high performing staff, right, has a high workload, right, and maybe even earning the same salary. Right, so pretty much, companies are punishing or penalizing high achievers with extra workload just because they are competent. Right? So managers really need to consider this issue. Yeah. At the same time, low task control. People who are knowledgeable, experienced, would like to have some element of control over their work. Right? And if management do not give them that empowerment or delegation and micromanages everything that they do, always questioning them, double checking their work, telling them exactly what to do, how to do things, that can also lead to a lot of pressure and stress in the workplace. Okay? So the consequences of stress, as I mentioned, physiological, right? People get severe headaches, heart attacks, even at a young age, right? Gastric problems, stomach ulcers, high blood pressure, insomnia, unable to sleep, right? Even going up to diabetes, okay? So that could be some causes of stress in terms of physiological. Psychological, we talk about people have been, facing anxiety, depression, not enjoying their work. They are not satisfied with their work. They have lower emotional well-being. They are not committed to their jobs. Okay, so that can also lead to behavioral issues, lower job performance, high absenteeism, higher turnover rates. Right? It can also lead to disruptive behaviors, violent behaviors, abusive behaviors. Okay, so all of this can be potential causes of potential consequences of stress, and we as Muslims as well, we need to avoid this because we are putting pressure on our staff and making them face a lot of negative effects, right? Physiologically, psychologically, and behaviorally. So when we look at the Islamic view on trials and tests, right? Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 286, already mentioned that inshallah, Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear, right? So we have to realize that inshallah, if we have patience, right? If we understand what Allah is testing us, okay, that we understand that if these are tests that we are facing, we might be able to face these tests and trials a bit better. Inshallah, I will look at more of this information in other slides, right? And the Quran as well, the Surah Ash-Shar, verse 5 and 6, right? I mentioned this before in terms of conflict, in the chapter on conflict previously. With every difficulty there is ease, and certainly with every difficulty comes ease. So we have to believe that every time we face any kind of challenge, inshallah, there will be a solution, right? There will be ways to overcome it. Okay? And a hadith, as reported by Muslim, right? Wondrous is the affair of the believer. If something good happens, he is thankful. Shukr, right? We are so thankful. And if something bad happens, he is patient. And inshallah, we are reminded that, if something good happens, please shukr. And if something bad happens, please sabr, right? Be patient, inshallah. Yeah. So there are some core strategies in Islam, right, for stress management. The first is tawakkul, right? Trust in Allah. If we have to, of course, make an effort, right, to make changes, to improve the situation, find a solution for the challenges that we're facing. But after making all the necessary efforts, leave it up to Allah. Right? Surrender to Allah. And we believe that everything happens for a reason. Okay? Whether we find out what that reason is in this world, right? It doesn't matter. Okay? We may never find out, okay, what that reason is. Only if, but if we truly believe that Allah has a reason, right? That there's something good, right, that will come out of it, it's easier for us to surrender to Allah, right, to face the challenges we face. Sometimes, we may find out what that reason is. It may be immediately, it may be 1 year down the line, in fact, it may be decades down the line, right, that we finally see the full impact, right, of the outcome of the challenges we have faced. Sometimes we may never know. But if you truly believe that everything happens for a reason, it is so much easier to surrender, to leave it up to Allah. But remember, we still have to make our efforts as well, right? We cannot just leave it up to Allah without doing anything, right? We still have to make an effort, right? At the same time, salah, right? Prayers, okay? Every time we make salah, we pray. And then because with salah comes wudu, right? When we wudu as well, when we splash the water on our face, right, on our hands and arms, and then we have to sort of make your mind at ease and at peace, right? And also when we might be restless, we might be anxious, but when we take wudu as well, right, we slowly calm down. And then when we perform our 5 daily prayers or even the sunnat prayers, right, we take a deep breath. We try to focus our mind, right? It provides a mental reset, right? And then spiritual grounding. Yeah. So Prophet Muhammad SAW, right, said that the coolness of my eye is in prayer, right? Sahih Bukhari has mentioned that hopefully, inshallah, right, we can also be soothed, right, through prayer. Zikr, okay, remembrance of Allah. Okay, so repeating phrases, Subhanallah, Walhamdulillah, Wa la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, can calm the mind. Keep saying it again and again, right? And I'll have to be very honest with you, right? Sometimes when I have to go see the dentist, have to go see the doctor to take blood, okay, or do any kind of medical procedure, right? I'm always zikir, right? Zikir over and over and over again, right? And it calms me, it calms my body, okay, so that the doctors or the dentists or whatever can do their job and I am at a less, I'm less stressed. Okay, I'm much calmer. Okay, so zikir really helps because that repetitive meditation can really soothe your mind and your body. Okay, so practical tools. Okay, Quranic recitation, right? When we are reciting the holy verses, it can be a soothing mechanism as well. It can also provide healing and guidance. Okay, as mentioned in Surah Al Isra, verse 82. Okay, and we send down the Quran, that which is healing and mercy for the believers. Okay, at the same time, we make dua, supplication, asking Allah for guidance, for support, for protection, okay, for relief, for help. Okay, fasting as well can help us build patience, discipline, resilience. Okay, resilience so that we can face any kind of challenges. Okay, because many of us, I believe, also live in very or extremely hot countries, and when we're fasting, we become very thirsty. Okay, and then at the same time, when we're fasting, it's a reminder for patience, for discipline, so that if we can face these challenges when we are stressed out, when we are overworked, when we are overloaded, we are not happy with the customers we are dealing with, inshallah, we are reminded our patience, our discipline, our resilience may help us during this time. Gratitude, shukr, we focus on blessings, right? We appreciate what we have rather than complain about what we don't have, right? We appreciate and give blessings. Not give blessings. We give thanks to our blessings that have been given to us. That can help reduce our anxiety as well. And when we give charity, if we help others, we feel not only a sense of accomplishment but also a sense of inner peace as well, that we feel that we are hoping, and inshallah we are trying to do good, right? Not for ego, not to feel good about ourselves, that see, look at how many people I'm helping. No, we feel that we are reminded that inshallah, alhamdulillah, I have so many blessings. Let me share with people, right? And that also sends a reminder to us to be grateful of our blessings as well. And hopefully, inshallah, it can reduce our stress and anxiety. Yeah. In terms of work, right, managing work-related stress, we as colleagues, we as managers, owners, okay, even ourselves, we have to try and remove the causes of stress, trying to ensure that there's a good person-job match, right? Trying to reduce all the confusion. Like when you talk about noise, okay, we're talking about distractions, okay, too much distraction. It could be physically noise, the office is too noisy, there's a lot of music playing, people are yelling, shouting, all these kind of things. We have to try and find a way to lessen that. Okay, have a very efficient complaint system where people can raise issues that they're not very happy with, but that complaint system should also have practical ways of resolving those complaints as well. Okay, give more empowerment, give people more control over the work, and also have better work-life balance. Yeah. If that is not working out, people might be forced or take the option of withdrawing from the stressor. Okay, they may request for a transfer, they may resign from their job and find another job elsewhere, right? Or they may take temporary solutions like vacations, sabbaticals, and all these kind of things. In fact, there are some companies where besides paid holidays or paid vacation, right, paid leave, right, not holidays, they also allow employees 1 week or 2 week off purely to do charity work. Okay, so it's separate from your paid leave. This is specifically for the person to work at charity organizations, NGOs, or whatever it is that they want, so that they feel a sense of giving back to the community. Yeah. Also change stress perceptions, how you see the situation, right? Try to have more positive self-concept, belief in ourselves. We can do that through training, right? Counseling, okay? We can also give reminders to people. We have tazkiras, we have usra, right? So that people can give or have a different viewpoint. Yeah. Try and control stress consequences, outcomes of stress, right? Both all the physiological, psychological, and behavioral consequences. Okay, we can also go, take a walk, right? Play a sport. I think I mentioned before in a previous chapter, I think on conflict, right? One of my friends would play squash, right? He would play squash, and to him, he reduces his stress through squash because every time, that squash ball, right? Every time he's playing squash and hitting that squash ball, he is releasing his stress, right? Stress. So meditation, zikir, okay, wellness programs that we can offer at the company, for example, we can have counseling, right? We can have different programs, for example, going for let's say some people want to go for anger management programs or learning how to relax, okay, taking up certain kind of exercises, right? Going for aerobics, there's, we can go for like a qigong, tai chi, yoga, okay, nothing related to religion, okay, these are just calming kind of strengthening exercises. At the same time, we can have employee assistance programs. Now, employee assistance programs are basically any programs that can help the employees by the company. So, for example, we can provide subsidized childcare, subsidized education programs for children. We can have weight loss programs, subsidized gym memberships, counseling programs, elderly care, medical care. Okay, so many things. So anything that can help the employees with their daily lives, right, is considered employee assistance programs. I think, a company, one of the Scandinavian companies, right? Swedish or Finnish, I can't remember. What they did was, on their work campus, they set up a childcare center, they set up a laundry service, a supermarket, small supermarket. Parents may drop their kids off at school, or they have school buses. And in the evenings, if they do not have childcare or the children are still young and not old enough to stay alone at home, normally after the age of 16 onwards, they're allowed to stay alone at home after school. But those younger than that aren't allowed to. So the company will provide a pickup service to pick up all the kids, bring them to the childcare center. So after school, right, they can stay there, do their homework, play with the kids, take a nap, right, whatever. They also have a nursery for babies and toddlers, so parents can drop off their kids at the nursery and then go to work. Okay, it's all on site, right? All on site. And in the evening, they can go do some quick grocery shopping, get a few items for dinner, pick up their laundry, pick up their kids, and go straight home. So they don't have to worry about, who's going to take care of my kids. I need to send my laundry. I need to, pick up some things. And I've got kids with me. I've got to take them around the supermarket. They don't have to worry about that, right? They can do that on site and then pick up the kids and then go home. Right? So this is all paid for or subsidized by the company to lessen the worries, the anxiety, and the stress of their employees. And they found that the cost of maintaining all of this was actually cheaper than the higher absenteeism, the less, the reduction in focus by the parents, right? Higher turnover, all these things. Okay, it was actually cheaper to do that. At the same time, receiving social support from other people. Okay, emotional, informational support. There's some companies that provide support within the company. So, for example, single parent households, parents or staff with maintaining elderly care, or staff with children with special needs, right? Staff with disabilities. They have all these kind of things. Okay, or staff going through any kind of grief or counseling. Yeah, so they provide all this kind of support. Yeah. So there are also individual differences in stress, people's personalities. Different people face different levels of stress. Okay. Research has shown that those who are in better health, right, they have constant or at least regular exercise, healthier lifestyle, tend to experience less stress, or at least tend to experience less negative stress outcomes. Okay, they have a healthier lifestyle, they exercise more, and also if they spend time with loved ones, right? Going out with friends, spending time with family, okay? All these kind of things. So that could be part of the appropriate stress coping strategies. How do you cope with stress? Yeah. Some people will take a nap. Some people will like to read a book. Some people will exercise. Some people will hang out with friends. Some people cook, right? Sometimes when I'm stressed, I like to cook. Right? I like to just release my stress through cooking. And instead of using the blender or food processor, I will actually chop and pound by myself just to release all that energy. Okay. Personality as well. Okay. We've already done the chapter on personality. Those with lower neuroticism or more emotional stability. Okay. Better emotional intelligence, higher extroversion, right, tend to experience less stress or at least less negative outcomes. Yeah. And those with more positive self concept, where they believe in themselves, they have more confidence, they have better self efficacy, that they believe they are more in control of the situation, they tend to have less negative outcomes. Okay. So, emotional regulation in Islam, okay, as a reminder, sabar, patience, right? Patience, there's an English phrase, it says patience is a virtue, and it's true, right? There's so many reminders in the Quran and in the Hadith, right, about being patient. And this is a key virtue in difficult times. And like I mentioned before, being patient, if you tawakkal to Allah, leave it all up to Allah, that Allah, inshallah, will deal with this, will handle it. We've made all the efforts, we've done everything we can, now be patient, right? Forgiveness, okay, this might be a bit difficult to some people, right? And depending on the situation, okay, if it's something very minor, let it go, right? Let go of grudges meaning, right, things that we are unhappy with somebody. Okay, letting go of things that we are upset about somebody. We're angry with somebody, right? That can ease the emotional burden. If it is more meaningful to maintain the harmony, the sense of community, the silaturahim between the people, let go of those grudges. Okay, inshallah, Allah will reward us for that forgiveness. Okay, and also hope in Allah's mercy. Okay, Surah Az-Zumar, verse 53, do not despair of the mercy of Allah, right? Believe in the mercy of Allah, right? Do not despair, because inshallah, Allah will take care of us. Yeah. Social and community support as well, right? Like I mentioned before, spending time with our loved ones, right? Connect with others for support. We have our brotherhood, sisterhood in Islam, okay? Also getting involved in our local community in terms of masjid, right? Surau, involvement, you build a sense of belonging, okay? Participate in the events, activities there, attend the talks, congregational prayers, right? Together, we build that sense of community. We also, when you go to the mosque as well, we feel a sense of peace, right? We feel, calming, okay, calming. And also trying to help others, right? Contribute back to the community, right? Reduces, focusing only on us. Why did this happen to me? Why is it always happening to me? Right? Why am I facing all these challenges? Right? Seeing other people, facing even more challenges than us, we might, be a reminder for us to be grateful, to be to shukr, to the blessings that we have, right? And also, we see the smile on people's faces when we help others will also hopefully bring a smile to us as well, inshallah. Yeah. And prophetic example, Okay, the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he has faced immense stress, right? All the prophets before him as well, a lot of persecution, loss of loved ones, the burden of leadership, right? The way he responded, and it's a lesson for us as well, right? Being calm, full trust in Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, consistent worship, and still providing service to to other people, right? Constantly giving to other people despite all the hardship that he was facing, right? As mentioned even by Dr. Ridwan, right? Before his prophethood, during his prophethood, all the persecution and challenges that he had faced. Yeah. So trying to integrate modern and Islamic approaches. So besides combining all the Islamic practices, right, as a reminder, please, try to maintain certain bit of exercise. So this is something that I would also try to do at least, hopefully, inshallah, at least 3 times a week. Do a few minutes of exercises. Try to increase your healthy diet, right? Because hopefully, when we maintain a healthier diet, we feel fresher, we feel lighter, we feel more confident in facing the challenges, right? Sleep habits. Now, this is a bit difficult even for me because I always feel like I've got a lot of work to do, and I sleep late and get up early, and that's actually not very good, right? We should have at least a good 6 hours of solid sleep a night because our body needs time to recharge. It needs it needs rest. That's why Allah has created sleep. Right? So you have to set a good sleeping habit, and when you are well rested, you are not so short tempered. Right? You are more patient, you are more tolerant, you are more resilient as well. Okay? Learn better time management skills, right? Make a list of things that you need to do. What are priorities? What are not so important? What are least important, right? Plan out your day, plan out your week, right? Plan out your month if you have to, right? And to make a to-do list, right? And then set aside time for these important things, which includes time with family, friends, and all that. And seeking professional help. Now, Islam permits mental health counseling because Islam, suggests that and supports that we receive help or assistance in any way we can, right? And if we feel that we are struggling, we are not coping very well, we can seek professional help to learn how to cope, right? To talk about our situations and our issues and things like that. Yeah. And lastly, right, it's a reminder Islamic stress management is a spiritually empowering and comprehensive way to face life's difficulty, right? And we can do that through tawakkul, consistent faith, prayer, zikr, patience, community service, community support. Right? And through all that, inshallah, we can achieve inner peace and resilience, right? So that hopefully, right, we are able to face the daily challenges, right, in a more positive manner with full faith to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, and leaving things up to him, despite all our efforts. And there are many ways we can maintain that positivity through prayer, through zikr, through Quranic recitation, right, through helping others, contributing back to communities, all of these things, inshallah. Okay. So that's all for me. This is also the last session that I'm contributing for this batch, for this time. I hope that I've been able to contribute just a little bit of knowledge to all of you. Listening to Dr. Noor Afifa's talk just now, that people upon their demise, there's nothing that they can take with them, beyond the grave except 3 things. And I hope that my contribution to knowledge can also help me in the hereafter. Right, so thank you very much. If there are any questions.
Dr. Zabeda, there is one question in the chat.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So actually, this one is talking about millennial workforce and work from anywhere, right? Flexible, hybrid working.
Yes.
Like 2 sides of coin for more of the companies. So is this WFA is one of the company's strategy to boost efficiency and productivity? Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So can you answer that?
All right, okay. So, yes, work from home, there are pros and cons, right? Benefits and disadvantages. How to manage stress? Now, this depends very much on the home situation of the individual as well. So, for example, if they're actually more stressed at home, because at home they have a lot of personal roles that they have to take care of. Okay. um, Taking care of their kids, taking care of elderly parents, taking care of pets, right? They are distracted because they don't have a very quiet environment. Then forcing somebody to work from home might not be a good thing. Okay. The staff should be allowed to work at the office. The same time, right, if let's say they do have a quiet environment, they can manage their work and all that, but they feel a sense of isolation. They feel stressed, right, because they don't have the opportunity to interact with other colleagues. Then the companies should allow them at least once a week or so come to the office, interact, attend meetings, have project discussions and stuff like that. Okay. On top of that, let's say, for example, um, some companies feel that, well, you're working from home anyway, you don't have to commute, so you have more time. So they pile on more work, right? Pile on more work to the person. Okay, so that's going to add more stress. So again, okay, the company would have to reduce on that. And at the same time, just because they are working from home and they're staying at home doesn't mean that they are accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? There are limits to working time, right? So the person and the company would need to set boundaries. Boundaries are very important. Okay, so in some countries like France, for example, right, working time is working time, unless there's an emergency, like the office building is on fire, for example. Okay, or the project document suddenly was corrupted in the company files, and the staff has the only file saved as back, then they should be able to contact them. Otherwise, if a person is on leave, if the person is out of the office hours, they are not allowed to be contacted. So these are certain boundaries that have to be set, right? So what the company should do, that when person is working from home doesn't mean that they are relaxed, they are free, right? There has to be a very clear idea what work from home or work from anywhere means. And that is also the same for the staff themselves. Right? That work from home doesn't mean they can relax either. They have deadlines, right? They also have to set aside a time for their work. They have to set aside a place for them to work where they're not distracted, right? They have to make arrangements as well for childcare, elderly care, right? They have to have better time management. All of this can help reduce their stress because they have allocated their boundaries, they have allocated what needs to be done, right? So, taking control over what you can do, what you can't do, and companies also setting and respecting boundaries, right, can help with the stress management.
All right.
I
Thank
hope
you,
that
Dr.
answers.
Zabeda. Actually, got one more question
Okay.
from, I think, Brother Hassan. Right. So,
Okay.
but we don't have much time to
Yeah,
answer
sure.
that.
Okay. So
Right.
I will
So,
answer
might be,
again.
yeah,
How
Brother
much
Hassan,
stress?
give,
Okay. How much stress can still be considered positive? Is there, that depends very much on the person, right? Some people can handle
mm,
a lot of stress and that would be considered positive. Some people will, just a little bit and they're already stressed out. So it depends person to person. I cannot give you how much, right? And there is no defining line between good and bad. The defining line happens when somebody feels stressed. That's the defining line. The moment good becomes bad, that's the tipping point.